It is 6 o'clock, so welcome everyone. It is our board meeting on Tuesday, December 12th. The last meeting of 2023. So this year went by fast. So call to order, and if Nancy, if you could lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nancy. Roll call, please.
All right, Trustee Wright.
Here.
Treasurer Jarvis.
Here.
Supervisor Ertz.
Here.
Clerk Stamey here. And Brian Beeman's absent.
He has an excused absence, so. All right, thank you very much. And on our agenda, excuse me. On our agenda, you're going to get a demerit back there. On our agenda, we need to make 2 additions before I call for an approval. I need to add 1 item under new business. It's actually falls under new business, right under resolution to adopt new fee structure for the building department for 2024. It's the Cedar Creek Township fee schedule for 2023-24. And also under new business, it is a proposal to build a workbench for the new pole barn. If I could have a motion, please, to approve the agenda with those 2 additions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All right, I have a motion and a support to approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda has been approved. We have, recently I went to Newaygo to hear the Maple River project update, and this was for stakeholders. And I have to say, once again, it is just an incredible part of Cedar Creek and Bridgeton. And it is something to behold, because there are minds in that meeting that are way beyond me and way beyond, and Scott will tell you, way beyond him.
Thank you for that kind introduction. I love that.
But there are people in that group, in that room, that are scientists, and they are really, really smart individuals.
Yeah.
But I am so pleased to introduce here tonight Scott Faulkner, who is the executive director of the Muskegon River Watershed Assembly. Scott, if you would please.
Thank you.
And I didn't mean to take away
It's the best
anything.
introduction ever. That's great. Thank you very much for the introduction and for the background. One of the responsibilities that we take really seriously is showing up. You know, we came into your township 3 years ago and started talking about this, and it's easy to lose track of time. It goes by so quickly. And this project is one that we're really proud of, and I wanted to spend just a few minutes bringing you up to date, cover a little bit of history, what we've done this year, what we plan on doing next year or 2, and then answer any questions if you have time to do that. So thanks for the opportunity to come in tonight. Marty Holtman, our principal watershed scientist, could not be here tonight. He double books himself all the time this time of year. And then he got sick over the weekend. So anyway, a little bit of a recap for those of you that have not been here since the beginning. We started kind of going down this path. It really wasn't an original idea of the Muskegon River Watershed Assembly. U of M did a pretty advanced study almost a decade ago and did a lot of work that we were actually able to use and build on. And we really didn't start getting interested in this project. I came under the Watershed Assembly just before COVID. As it hit and everything got shut down, we're like, what are we going to do? And so we decided to dream big and to try and figure out what kind of project we could do that we could depend on really staying focused on for 5 to 10 years. Maple River as a restoration project is the one that got our attention and the attention of my board. And as we kind of wrestled through that during the COVID pandemic, we kind of came up with a plan. One was to determine if it's possible at all. To that date, we'd been a pretty small watershed assembly. We'd never really wrestled to the ground anything much larger than a bank restoration here or a small dam removal somewhere on a tributary, but nothing quite this big. And so as we kind of looked around at it, we decided that going to our partners that we depend on quite often, the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, was the smartest place to start. And they were very interested in taking a deeper look at Maple River. And it historically has great value to the tribe for a lot of reasons, which I've come to be a lot more sensitive to over the years. And we just decided to ask them if they would consider partnering for us as an NFS, which is a non-federal sponsor. A non-federal is a non-federal agency that can approach a federal agency with a whole different level of respect, and tribes are given sort of first status because of the past and the tribal influence that they have in Washington, D.C. They said, sure, if you think that we can be of service to this project, let's go ahead and approach the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we did that. And Marty and I put our masks on and went down to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers office in April that year, and we met the Army Corps. They were not accustomed to ever getting visitors, but we decided that if we wanted to develop a relationship that mattered, that we would show up and knock on their door. And they welcomed us in, and we had made a relationship happen, and later that year they came over. And so the Corps was sort of our key partner. And they're the ones that said, you know what, we like the tribe as a partner, we're in. And they're the ones that wrote the big check for the hydro study that happened this year. So it took a while to get them here. It took a while to get some results. The preliminary results, we're still trying to get out of them. But that's what we did, and with their assistance too, then I started knocking on doors in your township and in Bridgeton Township, and got to meet some friends and some others along the way, and had a great time doing it. Got to meet your neighbors and your taxpayers. We take those relationships really seriously. So we started the public outreach, developed a funding plan, and it was always our vision to have some educational opportunities along the way for kids that are growing up here. That if we're doing something that you don't see in a century, it might be a good idea to bring the kids in so that they can tell the story along the way. And I believe, Heather, your child was an 8th grader last year, 2 years ago. Last year, yeah, and attended the Discover Maple River the first, and we had another one of those events this year too, which was really cool. And to date, we've raised over $2.2 million for this project. So we're pretty proud of that. It's the biggest accomplishment that we've been able to do in our 25-year history, and it's happening right here in your township and in Bridgeton Township. And part of what we did in 2023 is receive the funding from 3 different sources: the feds, the state government, and also local foundations. The Fremont Foundation has been really supportive of doing things like paying for meetings, paying for the stakeholder meetings that you have attended several of, Linda. They're really good at saying, hey, interaction with our community is important, let's do this. They also funded an economic impact study. The second bullet point under recent activities is you probably met Caroline at the meeting, and she is a brilliant. She's another one of these PhD, the smarter people in the rooms than me, people from the meeting.
You're not going to let me live that one
No,
down.
I'm going to remember that for a while. But there were half a dozen of those in the room, and she's from the University of Wisconsin, and her background is she's a historical archivist, and she believes in the power and importance of storytelling when it comes to places, not just storytelling for the sake of telling stories, but what were the stories around Maple River before it was plugged up? What could the stories be after it comes out? And she studies this stuff, and she's a brilliant person. So she's conducted story sessions with a lot of your residents here. And in a way, the older the better. Anybody that's got an old bunch of photos and history that's 100 years old or less, she's going to talk to every person she can get her hands on. She's done 7 of those now in the Maple River area. They're being dialogued. They're being checked for accuracy whenever you can. There's a lot of times there's no records that correspond or can be double checked. And she's made some interesting discoveries right in your neighborhood too. Like actually, we verified that logging happened in the channel, not just on the main branch of Muskegon. We know that it happened back there, and that's not something that was not really clearly identified until the summer. We started planting sugar maple trees. We did an initiative here called a thousand tree promise, And sugar maples played a big role in Maple Island. Sugar maples were predominantly there, and that's one of the reasons why Native people stopped here, is because they could feed themselves from the sugar during the harsh winters. And so we decided that replanting those would be a good program. We are only 15 to 16% toward our goal, because we wanted to raise $100,000. We've only raised about 15 so far, and we've only planted a dozen trees because we wanted to get to a certain number where you could buy them cheaper. And it turns out everybody's buying sugar maple trees. They're really expensive now. There's 4 different species. We didn't know that, but apparently this is a popular thing because people see it as an opportunity to make money. It is 40 years after you plant them. But anyway, that's not going to change our approach, and we started doing that. We did have the second Maple River, Discover Maple River event at Bridgeton. It was quite a bit smaller than the first one, which is kind of understandable in retrospect. The first time it was brand new. The second time it was like, uh-oh, they're going to try to raise money again, and this is kind of expensive. And so we got a little bit less turnout, but we still raised plenty of money for the event. And more importantly, it's getting the people together and talking to them about their concerns. The first year it was kind of like, wow, this is pretty cool. Second year it's like, uh-oh, this is getting real. And so you get both sides of the fence that come out. Folks that are saying, this is awesome, I can't wait to do it, can't wait for my property. And others saying, wait a minute, you guys are actually going to do this? And I think this year will be a repeat of that at some level, because the closer you get to the fire, the warmer people get. And so I think that'll be a year of this too. We had the stakeholder meeting that Linda referenced. That meeting is really, really important because we get federal, state, local agencies together. We get local governments there, both Linda and her counterpart in Bridgeton Township. Janice Bernhardt was there too. We get drain commissioners if we can get them. We get the folks that manage emergency management in both counties, because this is a 2-county project. And we try to get everybody in a room with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We had like 6 of them virtually attending. And that's where some of the real brain power comes out, is they're using these models and starting to say, okay, if we open up the channel, how much water is going to come through both sides? What happens if there's a 100-year flood? What happens if there's a 10-year event? We're not to the point of answering that question now, but we're at a different point. I'll explain that in a minute. But those meetings we try to have quarterly. We canceled the summer one because we couldn't get the data we wanted out of the U.S. Army Corps, so we postponed it to the fall. There will be one in the springtime that'll probably be much more data driven than the last one. And 2 really important things that happened this past year that I think are important for those of you that live here. And one is what we're finding is people become much more interested in the Maple River project, whether they live in that exact area or not. Upriver and downriver people are involved. Kathy Whipple came to us, and that was only a year and a half ago, with pictures of her bank saying, is there anything you can do? We said, I don't know, we'll try. And Marty went to work with his team, and that project is complete. She had a falling apart bank. It was 140 feet, I believe, 160 feet of bank that just fell off every year whenever the rain would come up. It lost acres and acres and acres of land. And we were able to get a grant approved. Their family put in 10%. We found 90% to do a very expensive bank restoration project. And it went from an idea to complete in almost a year, which is very rare. And it's because this project was used as a backdrop. You say, okay, Maple River is coming. This is connected to the Maple River project, and funding sources like to be part of a winning project. And that was an example of that. So we really view Kathy's project and Rick's project that way. And then we also got contacted from folks downriver at the Possum Lodge, which I did not know existed before. And it's a group of homeowners down in that area. They're like, you're not thinking about us. And they were exactly correct. We showed up on their door. And we kind of humbled ourselves and said, you know what, we're really sorry it's taking us so long to get down here, because they're thinking, wait a minute, you do something upriver, we already have very low current, we already have very low depth. What's going to happen to our channel? What's going to happen to our way of life? And so now they're part of our stakeholder meeting. They're invited to come to our stakeholders meeting so we can hear their concerns and try to answer any questions that they might have. It's also kind of important to mention at this point too that there is no chosen singular path forward. We don't know if we're going to open the whole channel like it used to be, whether one of them makes sense, both of them make sense, or none of them make sense. We don't know, but we're going to find that out. And the science behind the data model from the U.S. Army Corps is not the gospel, but it will give us a more informed decision-making ability when that time comes. So that's what we're trying to do. The other one that's really interesting and doesn't get a lot of press is Manoomin, wild rice. Studies are also going on by the tribe. That's Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, is LRBOI. they're doing three really, really cool things. One is by the state game area, for those of you that have wandered back in there, and you know where the little bridge is off to the right-hand side, that is a beautiful crop of wild rice, and the rare kind, the river version. And it's a gorgeous crop that we certainly do not want to do any damage to. If we do this, the idea is not, you know, flush out all the wild rice. We want to do what we can to propagate it. And so they're doing a study of mapping. Where does it exist exactly? Using GPS, 1 meter resolution. We know where all the wild rice is in our area. And then how can we propagate it through the careful remapping of the Maple River? How do we encourage its use? We've had one property owner, I believe is in Bridgeton Township, Drake, and Drake has said, you know, as far as my channel goes, if you want to do a nice slow flow here so we can grow as much rice as possible, we can do that. And so it's interesting to see how people are starting to understand this. The other one is they're doing a DNA study of ancient rice that they found in core samples as the Corps went through, the U.S. Army Corps went through. They take core samples out of the muck that's in the channel, and then they analyze everything in it. And what they found was wild rice. And so the tribe is doing DNA analysis to determine how old it's been there. Like how old is the sediment down there, and how old is the wild rice, and what is its genotype? What's the DNA of this wild rice? And so they're doing really cool stuff. This is another example of smarter people in the room. That had to get that in one more time. But the tribe has 2 people working on that alone. And so we're going to learn a lot about not just about how the river channel worked, but how people lived here, what they ate, exactly where it was from all that we're doing down here. So it's a lot bigger thing than just opening up a river channel and hoping for the best. It's much more thoughtful. So what's coming in the future? I don't have a better crystal ball than anybody else, but my sense is that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer model will be available very soon. So certainly in time for our spring meeting, probably in March, for the stakeholders meeting. And by that, what we mean is this: their data model is just a tool for us to run different scenarios. We can say, for example, we know that there's 2 channels coming into the Maple River, 1 going out. We know the topology now because of the surveying that they did, and we know the sediment levels in each of the channels. So we can do scenarios, for example, saying, leave the upper inlet closed, open just the second one, and then put a 10-year water event through it and see what happens. Normal water flow, what's going to happen to the main branch? That's a really big question for a lot of people that depend on fishing to make their living or to feed their families. It's a big deal. What happens to that big wide Muskegon if you all of a sudden alter the channel upriver? So it'll give us a chance to create a balanced outcome. And this is not going to be Muskegon River watershed calling all the shots. Far be it from that. And Linda knows when we get in that room full of people, there's a lot of people, fisheries experts. There's folks that understand hydrology. There's engineers that kind of understand soil composition better than anybody. And having those group of people in the room says, if we do this, hopefully this will happen. And at the end of the day, our hope is we gain some kind of a reasonable consensus. I'm also not of the opinion that anything can be decided in a group of 100 people that everyone's going to agree with. But at least we have the stakeholders in the room. We don't want it to be said that we came in with an idea of a project that got jammed down somebody's throat. That's not what's going on. So our hope is that we're going to be able to take that model and come up with the most balanced outcome to say, you know what, reasonable people believe that restoring the channel in this way makes some sense. And if at the end of it, I'll state it one more time, after the end of all these millions of dollars being spent and a lot of man hours, if it's determined we need to leave it alone, we're going to make that recommendation. I don't think that's the case, but it may be. It's going to take the scientists to help us understand that. The other one is, this is where kind of I and Marty will get engaged pretty heavily, is with the data model. What happens is everybody sets up a little straighter in their seats when you start putting data models in, and the water level starts coming up and back up that person's property. And so we want to go back to each person along the channel and say, based on our best observations and with the best tools and science we have at our disposal, this is what a 5-year water event would look like, a 10-year, a 100-year. And we want to be sure to disclose this to people. Because a lot of times if nobody's seen a 100-year event, it's just mythological in nature. It's not. For those of us that went through 1986, it's not. And we have to be really, really specific with people about what can happen in not perfect circumstances, and say, hey, this is what could happen in your parcel. So we can have this kind of meeting, but then we want to sit at kitchen tables with people and say, this is what will happen to your parcel based on our models. We have to find, this is another not commonly known thing, but we're gonna need to find another $5 or $6 million to finish this thing. If we end up doing the excavation, building bridges, doing all the things we have to. Party's not over when it comes to raising money, but what happens is it gets easier to find the better science you have behind it, and the more we've moved it forward. The tribe will also come in very handy in that regard, because this is considered sacred ground to them, and they've indicated that they're going to help. The U.S. Army Corps has funding specifically for this type of thing, so if it's their science and we make a recommendation that they like, a lot of times they write checks as well. So that's my job, is to try and continue coordinating funding to see that a good outcome happens. And then finally, we just would like to have the opportunity to come back and keep you up to date with what we're doing. I think Linda will attest that we're pretty forthright when it comes to telling you what we're up to. And when we do run into snags, even with individual parcel owners, you know, I'm going to engage and say, man, I had a bad conversation. If there's anything we can you help? I don't want to get shot. And so we'll continue to tell you the good news, the bad news, and hopefully at the end of it all come up with something beautiful that we can be proud of with our kids and our grandkids. And any questions anybody has, I'd love to.
I have two.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any sugar maple trees that are alive down in the area by Maple River?
I don't know. I don't know, because we tend to stick around the channel, and it used to be called Maple Island.
Right.
And Maple Island is a lot of people's collective property, and much of it's farmland now. And so to my knowledge, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to ask Marty and talk to one of our tree guys, because the tree people will know.
Yeah.
I know we have some unusual trees back there by, no, not Doug's property, it's his next door neighbor. Sorry. Well, there are some huge shagbark hickories back there, which are really fascinating trees, and there's some sycamore and other trees you don't see too often but were prevalent back then. So there's some interesting things, but I don't know. I'll find out
Okay.
more. Thank you for that.
And my other question is, the wild rice that you mentioned that's growing in the state game area,
Yes.
has that been harvested at all?
It's been harvested correctly by some tribal members. Like, they take tribal
Okay.
members out and show the young people how to do it, how they did it in canoes
Okay.
before. It's a fascinating thing. They use a rod and they beat it, and they purposely let at least half of it go back in the water to propagate for the next year. They didn't take all the seed. And so, yeah, I got to see that this year. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'll find out about the sugar maple. That's an obvious question I should have asked a long time ago, sir.
Being naive like you are,
And undereducated, clearly. Yes.
how in the world can you, how can I say this? Pre-plan, not knowing what the weather's gonna be like in reference to snow, if you get a lot of snow, or if you get a lot of rain,
Yeah.
that's gotta be a challenge.
It's crazy. That's back to smarter people than you and me, sir. A lot we depend on historical records for rainfall, which are very accurate. So especially going back 100, 120 years, we have really good rainfall records
Wow.
that we depend on. But the hard part for us is this watershed, the Muskegon River, starts 219 miles north of here in
Oh, yeah.
Higgins Lake. And so we have to combine the rainfall averages over 9 counties. And that
Wow.
includes the tributaries. So a lot of times you might not get any rain here, but that water's going up because something that happened in Osceola County over the
Oh,
weekend.
sure.
Right? And so the computer models will allow us to say what happens if we get 10 inches of rain in Nuevo County, or 10 inches of rain in Osceola, or any number of the ones upriver, Roscommon. And a lot of times the further away it is, the less it happens, because the tributaries swell a little bit up there, or the land absorbs it along the way. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. There are legitimate answers to those questions that smarter people than me answer for us.
There's
So
only one person or whatever that controls it.
that's God himself. That's exactly right. Yeah. Dave?
Well, it's a very interesting project. I got lots of questions, which I think, like
Yeah.
to see that model they build and look at the flows.
Yeah.
But is there a desired outcome or a desired benefit you're looking for at the end of this, or is it just a restoration of what was?
That's a great question. Marty was asked a question at Discover Maple River, and it was probably one of my favorite moments of Marty. The person said, what are your greatest fear about this project? And Marty said, that you won't like the outcome. That was Marty's greatest fear. We'll go through 8 years of work, millions of dollars, and people of this township don't like what happened. That's our biggest fear. What we're trying to do to minimize that is to inform everybody and come to a decision together. Because this thing was plugged up before any of us were even thoughts in our grandparents' heads. They had no consideration for our generation. We don't want to make the same mistake. And so what we're hoping to do is saying, hey, this thing functioned for tens of thousands of years, or at least thousands of years, as an open channel. And so chances are, the great designer probably made it that way for a reason, and putting it back that way is my personal desire, but only if it makes sense to people that live here. Is that a good question? Good answer? It's my best answer. Yeah.
Scott, a couple takeaways that I had from the meeting. One of the scientists on Zoom was so personally aware of everybody's property, and that was so surprising to me. I mean, when people started rattling off the location of the property, she knew exactly where it was.
Yeah. Catherine.
I thought that was her name,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And so that's how intimately involved she is with this project. And I thought, my gosh, I don't know where these places are.
And she's never been there.
And so she knows all of these places on the map.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh my gosh, she's so heavily involved in this.
Yeah.
And the Manuman rice, they showed pictures of the rice, how they were literally taking core samples, and they're on floats buried to their chests in the muck. And I've never seen anything like it. It's totally being committed to your project.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, oh yuck.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, this is something I would absolutely never do, but these people are absolutely committed to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there was a great deal of the time that we spent was talking about the rice. People are very, very interested in this particular part of this project and what it means.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of investment in this.
Yeah, there is on the tribes, not to speak on their behalf, but I know enough of them from the tribe to know their connection with that was their primary food source when they lived here. And when we dammed up the Maple River, that food source dried up right along with it. So it's as close to, eliminating a food source for a tribal people as it gets. So the idea of putting it back or expanding the expansion of Manuman is extremely important to them, and that's not lost on the folks at the U.S. Army Corps. Yeah, I always think of the Army Corps as those people that put in the giant, harbor fronts, big piers and that kind of thing. I didn't know they did this kind of work, but this is not outside their level of influence at all. They do anything that's really difficult, and as you say, they're very hands-on. When they get here, they just wander in and do it.
Yeah.
And of course they have to. They're given orders by the officers that they report to. Get in there and do this, and they do it. It's something to watch. They're very dedicated people.
And different
And they're service
agencies
people.
working together.
Yeah.
And actually, we're learning from each other in that stakeholder meeting, which was also interesting because they, at that particular point, didn't exactly know which body was working on that particular project also.
I remember when Catherine said, could you send me the GPS coordinates of the bridge you're talking about? It was the little bridge we were referring to on the state game area. That's where the rice is. She said, I want to know the elevation of that bridge. Can you send that to me? And so next day she had them.
And also, I mean, we talked about the Whipple project. We talked about the Bain Road project. So these are things that are critical to Cedar Creek.
Yeah.
And Bridgeton, but really, really instrumental to what goes on in Cedar Creek Township. And I didn't have time to ask, but I am pretty sure I read something in our MTA legislative book about the Manoomin Rice being a bill about that being a project that was legislatively,
They're funding.
Okay.
They're starting to create funds to do this. And
well, it was the Manoomin Rice was slated to be
endangered?
No, well, it was the state grain, that was it, state grain.
Oh.
Manoomin Rice was the
I
state
should know
grain.
about, yeah, okay. I wasn't
So
aware
I'm
of that.
gonna have to follow up on it
Yeah.
now that I said it
I
out
wouldn't
loud.
be surprised, yeah.
Yeah,
That would be amazing if
I think it was a House bill, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, and
So-
there's two, as I understood it from the meeting too, there's two different types of wild rice. One is more river centric, which is what you have, and it's quite rare because it grows in a flowing environment. And the other is the kind that grew on lakes, like Rice Lake near Grant. When that existed, that was an enormous body of rice, which we subsequently drained and turned into farmland.
So-
Yeah.
So, this is such an interesting topic, and, I mean, we were there for all of an hour and a half, and we've talked with you for fully 20 minutes here, and we could go on.
Just scratching the surface.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we're grateful for the support of the township and for the folks that live here. We know there's gonna be conversations in the future, and we'll come here with an open heart and open mind every time.
I have one suggestion. Your last meeting was on, your fundraising meeting was on a board meeting night.
I know.
Yes.
We won't
So-
do that again.
Okay.
That cost us a lot.
Does anyone else have any questions for Scott? All right.
Merry
Scott,
Christmas.
thank you so very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your being here with us
welcome.
this evening.
You're welcome.
Tell Marty we said hello.
I'll do exactly that. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right. All right, moving on to the minutes. You had an opportunity to look at the minutes.
I make a motion to accept.
One second.
All right. Any discussion on the minutes? All right.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Treasurer's report.
Our general fund beginning balance November 1st, 2023 was $1,237,117.64. Revenues totaled $25,263.04. Expenditures totaled $75,762.87, leaving an ending balance of $1,186,617.81.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Heather? Hearing none, we will place the treasurer's report on file. Thank you, Heather. Okay, disbursements.
Other than usual, we had a couple big ones this month. We had about 10,000 for the electrification of the pavilion. Asphalt paving of the parking lot, about 23,500. And we had some expenses for the senior millage, a little over $5,000. So that's pretty successful run there. So other than that, just normal bills.
Could I have a motion to pay for those particular items along with our regular bills?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
All right, all in favor? Oh, we're spending money, so I need a roll call on that, please.
Bob,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Dave, yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. Correspondence. Dave.
Nothing out of the ordinary, just
Any-
bills.
Anyone else? All right, I have nothing either. Public comments, agenda items only. Yes,
You know I'm gonna ask.
No. I don't know what you're gonna
I'm
ask.
just curious because I read the minutes from last week or
Uh-huh.
last month.
Stephanie?
Oh. Make me do this? And because of my experience, I just wondered if things had changed or rules had changed on construction codes, because I see where you're creating another board. And we've never had to do that in the past, because when the codes come down, you just have to go through them, approve them, and we always send them to the attorney. So I was just curious if something had changed where we're creating another board.
Yes, something has changed. You weren't here at the last,
Right,
yeah.
that's why I thought
Yeah.
I didn't.
yes, something has changed, so, it is a requirement that we have to, create a construction board of appeals.
So is that board here just because of the codes? Or is there other
It's
things?
code. It's a code thing that we have to have one.
Okay, so basically they're only here for when your codes change.
Not code, it has nothing to do with code.
Oh.
It's not, has nothing to do with code. It's in the event of a problem.
Okay, so that's outside of your other,
Yes, yes, yes,
that was my curiosity.
yes. Thank you for the question, though. It is a good question. All right, moving on to unfinished business. And this is, at our last meeting, the board approved the Generac maintenance agreement. Unfortunately, when, and this was in response to our, it's Generac Superstore, they're the ones that approached us, they're the ones that serviced our generator in the past. When I responded back to them, they did not reply. So I emailed them, I called them, and I did not hear back. So I then emailed back and I said, thank you, but no thank you. I then called Wertz and said, what's the appropriate thing to do? And can you service our generator? And what would you do? And so they would in fact service our generator. He told me in fact exactly what to do. Dave went out there and did exactly what Josh told me to do. Dave did it. We didn't need to service our generator right then. It was lickety-split.
It was just a caution code, check your battery.
Yeah.
Check battery, clear the code and stayed off. So.
Yeah. So, with that said, I've sort of an informal contract with Wertz. I'm asking for your blessing to go ahead and do an informal contract with Wertz as it stands right now.
I would think
Do we
so.
need to cancel the previous?
I've already done that.
All right. And do we have to make a motion to do this one then?
Yes.
I'll make
I'm
a
in.
motion.
I'll second
All right, any further discussion?
So the motion is to use Wertz as our
it.
generator.
On an as-needed basis.
Yeah.
On an
okay.
as-needed basis.
Sounds good.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, thank you. The next order of business is under recurring business, is a resolution to amend sewer rates and charges for the public sewer system. And this is something we do every year. And you have in your packet, gotta find mine. Maybe.
You want mine?
Maybe, yeah. Thank you. Every year, the wastewater committee adjusts the rate, according to the rate flows, they adjust the sewer rates. And, so this year they did an overall rate adjustment to everybody. It's based on the flows, and they do a 3-year adjustment. So, this year Cedar Creek's was raised from $2,900 to $3,100. And, so you have this in your packet. And we are required, oh, I didn't make that, I have to make that bottom adjustment there on,
It's just a date.
yeah, it's the date. I'll make that adjustment before. I didn't change that. And I am looking for the rate sheet from, which I need to get from Muskegon Charter Township. I will look for that yet. So I'm asking for approval on this. We just, it's something that we are required. Is it our township for some reason requires this, that we have a resolution?
I believe they all do. We're just the only use of the sewer system is by Timberline Estates. But for
Right,
some
and we're a
reason,
pass-through.
right, we're just a pass-through. They can't work directly with each other. It has to go through the municipality. So
We pass through Muskegon Charter Township.
So Muskegon Charter charges us for one portion, and the Muskegon County wastewater charges for the other portion.
Right.
And we invoice Timberline. We pay both of
So
them.
we're just a middle.
We're just a
We're the
middleman.
middleman, we're
So
the middleman.
this is just, we're continuing this relationship. It's just that the rate from the wastewater is going up
Right.
from $2,900 a month to $3,100 a month. Everything else will continue
Yeah,
the way that we've been doing
the
it.
whole program stays the same. It's just the rates are adjusted, and it should adjust annually. So,
I'll make a motion.
all right, thank you. I
I'll
need a
second.
support. Thank you, Dave. All right, once again, we're spending money, so I'll need a roll
We
call
weren't
on
spending
this.
money.
Huh?
I thought we weren't spending money.
Well, you know, technically
It's a
we're not.
pass-through.
It's a pass-through. We're technically
right.
not, but because we're sort
Right.
of spending money.
Bob,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes,
Dave, yes.
all right,
Yes,
thank you.
unanimously.
All right. And the next one is the appointments. It's this time of year that we do appointments to our Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. This year we have 2 appointments to the Planning Commission. Josh Giddings, who's being reappointed, he's asked for a 1-year appointment while he determines his family commitments. And then he'll make a decision on how that's working, and we'll take it from there. And Cheryl Sloan, she's being reappointed for a 3-year term until 12/31/26. So before I move to the Zoning Board of Appeals, I would like your, I
Motion
am,
and support.
I believe we have to do them separately.
Separately,
each
yeah.
person.
oh, you're absolutely right, I forgot, we can't vote as a group. You're absolutely right
Vote
on
on each
that.
individual.
Yeah, we do have to vote individually on that, and thank you for that, I forgot about that.
I'll
Well,
make a
I'd love to
motion.
do it as a group.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
do it. I'll make
So-
a motion to reappoint Josh Giddings to the Planning Commission for a 1-year term.
Support.
And that ends, his term ends 12/31/24. So we have a motion and a support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Josh has been reappointed, and then I would like a motion to reappoint Cheryl.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Cheryl for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Cheryl has been reappointed. Congratulations. Next on the agenda then is Bill Hamrich, who has also agreed to be reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term ending on 12/31/26.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Bill Humrich to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Bill has been reappointed. Thank you for that. Next on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the new fee structure for the building department for 2024. And it's not the building department. It shouldn't say building department. It should, I guess it's the new fee structure. And I don't have that one either, I don't.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, it
this
is,
a
it is,
resolution for
it's
the
a
building
resolution. No, it's not that one.
It's this one.
Under this
Yeah.
one.
department.
Yeah.
For the building, mechanical, plumbing,
Yeah.
electrical, and zoning fees.
Yeah, it's all of them.
Yeah.
So,
Is building being increased?
no,
Okay.
no. No. So, this, if you'll recall, in the past 2 months, we have increased the mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. We did not increase zoning, or we did increase some zoning fees. But the building department did not, we talked to Jeff, and he did not feel that the building department needed an increase. So, but we need a resolution to approve all the increases. So with that, I need an approval for this resolution.
I'm a little confused. Didn't we do that last meeting?
No, we did
Plumbing and mechanical.
We saw the fee schedules and we approved the actual fee schedules, and now the resolution is,
Oh,
the
it's an actual
Resolution.
resolution.
Alright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the resolution comes after we do all the approvals of the fees.
All right, so we approved the fees, now we approve the
Yeah,
resolution.
then you do the
All
resolution.
right, sorry.
Make it all official.
Yeah. Feels a little backwards, but that's the way you do it.
All right.
So, I need an approval of this if we could.
I'll make a motion, or second, if it hasn't been made.
It has not been,
All right, I'll
you're
make a
making the motion.
Support.
Support. We have a motion and a support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, and follows the question that Stephanie had. I had hoped to have names for you on the construction. Yeah.
When do you wanna do this one?
Oh, the fees. Yeah, thank you. The fees. This follows that. The Cedar Creek fee schedule, you have in your board on your, right here. Yep. Heather and Cindy have been working on this, so I'm gonna let you take this one.
Yeah, so, when Cheryl and Lorraine brought up the reapproval and some of the changes to the building department fee schedule, Cindy and I thought that our regular fee schedule should probably be updated. I believe the last one was 2018, maybe. So we went through it and talked to Cheryl, talked to Lorraine. I think everybody had a chance to look at it and see if there was anything that needed to be changed. Just a few changes. 2 of them came from Lorraine for zoning, and the master plan is $50. I don't remember what it was before. A copy of that. And the zoning compliance fee changed. But just wanted to update the fee schedule. And I would like for it to not be the 23-24 fee schedule, but just to be our current fee schedule, and we'll have the date that we updated it, because
Okay,
it may not need to be updated every year.
it's 23 is over,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll make that change right
Yeah.
here, yeah. So it should just say,
Fee
Fee schedule.
schedule, and then at the bottom we'll
Yeah.
add updated,
yeah, put updated.
today's date.
We
So-
can make that change here, and, yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
All right, with those edits, could I have a motion to support, a motion to approve, I should say,
Motion to approve.
with those edits?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then
Second,
you'll support?
Yep.
Okay,
I do have some questions
okay. Now we have a motion and a support. All right, your
so we can
questions.
discuss.
Okay,
On the FOIA, we've had some weird requests, and this looks pretty clear cut as far as what the fees are compared to what some of the demands are coming in. Now, is there flexibility in here that we can give somebody a quote when they're asking ridiculous amounts of information?
Yeah, we had a FOIA request a year ago. There's
We've
a,
had one, yeah. We've had some on past voting issues, and they want all kinds of information.
so what you have to do is you have to follow this fee schedule, there's a form.
Not
And
this
you-
one here.
No, this is the costs are listed here, but this isn't the actual form. So there's a FOIA folder in your office with the form in it. So we fill that out and we make our best estimate of how long it's gonna take us to gather all the
First,
information.
To find it all.
Right, yeah, to find it
Then
all,
to copy it all.
to gather it,
All
to
right.
make the copies, and then we give them our estimate, and depending upon how much it's going to cost, they may have to pay a deposit on it. If it's a high amount, they have to pay a deposit before we do anything.
All right.
because Heather had the FOIA request to beat all FOIA requests.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah, we said we needed some, hazard pay for our
yeah.
time in the basement looking for these
Heather,
documents.
actually Heather's hair was down to her ankles before her FOIA request. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but yeah, these are the actual, just the prices, it's not
Yeah.
the
Right.
form, so.
all right, any other questions on this? All right, we have a motion, a support, and discussion. And all right, then I'm gonna call for a vote to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Form is approved. All right, now we have a proposal from Bob. I had asked Bob,
Now you can do the appointments to the
Yeah.
construction.
oh, shoot.
Sorry.
I missed it again, okay. This is the appointment to the Construction Board of Approval, and this is the one Stephanie talked about. And actually, this is more going to be information at this point. It can be a 3 to 5 member board, and we have the names of 5 people for whom we are contacting right now as possible members of the board. And I believe at this point, 3 of them have said they are interested in being on this Construction Board of Appeals. The likelihood that anyone will be called to appear on a Construction Board of Appeals is slim to none. It is only when there is some sort of egregious incident that happens within the township that with respect to a construction issue, and someone feels that they need to convene a construction board. And we had to make some adjustments to this, to the ordinance that we had in, or the potential ordinance that we had. It wasn't correct. It called upon the zoning board, was not correct. They were not the appropriate board to address this. And so we had to, this came about because of Jeff's ISO report that Lorraine is working on. And we were literally mandated to have a construction board of appeals, which is why this is all happening. So we realized that we were lacking in something that we were really supposed to be having. We were supposed to have. It was one of those things that sometimes you realize you should have and you don't. So that's how this happened, and we're rectifying a situation. So.
What would be an example
Perhaps,
if somebody's doing something wrong when they're building something?
no,
Or
it
if
would be
they're allowed to do
on
something.
on our end. Like, somebody felt that we didn't do something right on our end, like,
And approving their
yeah,
plans?
and approving our plans, that they didn't like how we did something in terms of, perhaps it would be our building official wasn't doing something appropriate, and so we would be and the people who are on the construction board of appeals all have to be construction officials. So they have to be certified in their fields. So that's what that is about. So at our next board meeting, I will have the appropriate names for you, and we will vote on that. Okay, now for Bob's proposal. I had asked Bob if he would do the research. We're building this beautiful pole barn, and I realized one of the things that we didn't have was a workbench. And I thought, we don't have any place to put anything, any tools and or anything of that nature. And so I asked Bob if he would start looking into things for me, and so he did. And so Bob, do you want to take that one over
Sure.
for me, please?
Yeah, Linda asked me to look at workbenches. I went to Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. They had 4 foot, but they'd have to order 8 foot, and they were really cheaply made. And cheap's not good for around here. We can break things, and Ron can contest to that with me. But anyways, I started looking at 4x8, made with metal, 1/4-inch metal, stuff like that, and badass workbenches. I looked that up online for something close to what we're looking at. They wanted $3,470.44. That was really out of the park. Another one, U-Line, wanted $16.25. That wasn't made as well, and it didn't have caster wheels on it to where you could move it around. So then I started looking local, and I went to Monarch Welding. They have iron workers that work with them, union guys, and they get slow at times. So I asked them what they could build a bench for, and here's the quote. They can build a bench for $1,000, and it's about 1,000 pounds. They'll deliver it. It's on caster wheels. They said that thing will last forever. So, but I'm related to the guy that works for this company. So I want to recuse myself for a vote on this particular bench.
Okay,
So
I appreciate that. That's
Jeremy Collins
con-
is the,
conflict of interest. I appreciate that.
okay.
You said it's Monarch Welding is the name of the company?
Well, it's Jeremy Collins is actually, he's doing it through his LLC because he's got business
Okay.
through that, and he's got iron workers that work underneath him. They may be slow a day. He'll put them on projects like this, and you know, it may take them a month to get it ready, but we won't be ready for
No, we're not
for
in
about a
hurry.
month, so it would work out. But I just don't feel I can vote on this because it wouldn't be right.
I'll make a motion, we get the workbench.
Do we need to have like a copy of Bob's other bids that other comparables that he found with the, you know, just for the record,
That'd be a good
get a
idea.
copy of
I can
this?
get them offline,
Yeah,
you know,
just
that'll
because
work.
the,
the ones I did get a hold of.
you know, the
Yeah.
three.
If you could just,
Yeah,
yeah, just print them from,
Print it or email it.
Yeah.
to
okay,
Dave, just
yeah, I
for
can
the,
do that.
for the record. Oh, support, sorry.
support. We have a motion and support. We're spending money, so
Heather,
Yes.
Linda,
yes,
Dave, yes.
motion carries.
Alrighty,
Thank you for doing that.
I'll get that information to you, and then I'll let Dave know when they're ready to deliver.
Okay. I really appreciate, because I did put Bob on the spot asking him to do that, and he took it upon himself to do it
Okay,
right away,
and
so.
while we're right here real quick, I gotta get 2 more quotes for the garage door openers. So I'm gonna do that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We don't have electric yet or
Okay, all right.
anything, so,
We'll do that at the next board, at the,
Yeah.
okay,
well, I should have information by the
okay, you
work
can have,
session.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
The next on the agenda, public comments,
I have a question.
yes?
If I heard right, with the, public sewer system, Timberland Estates is the only facility,
It is the only one in Cedar Creek Township.
and are we, Cedar Creek, are we reimbursed for that amount of money through taxes or
Well,
however?
we actually invoice Timberline. So we're billed by Muskegon Charter Township and the county of Muskegon,
Okay,
and then we invoice Timberline.
okay,
So they just can't, they can't invoice Timberline directly, it has to pass through us.
okay, I
And
didn't
then they-
understand.
Yeah.
They do pay a 50 cent per trailer, fee for us being the pass-through.
Okay,
So the township,
all right, thank you.
Are they the only ones on that sewer line? I thought there was more people.
No,
no,
no.
Not
We
in
are
Cedar Creek.
predominantly,
Because there's the other, houses that are across from them. They are not on the sewer line?
the houses across from Timberline, that's Muskegon Charter Township.
Timberline is kinda right in the corner.
Yeah,
It's kind of a strange, okay.
yeah.
yeah,
We-
Creekwood, that's Muskegon
Yeah.
Township.
And Cedar Creek is septic tank. A
Yeah,
septic tank.
right.
Well, and septic
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
And that used to be septic tank.
yeah.
The trailer park used to be. Yeah.
So,
They did property around there. Anyway,
so,
okay.
any other comments?
For me.
So, board comments.
Merry Christmas. Hope, stay
Oh.
safe and,
Ho, ho, ho.
ho.
We have, Heather, do you have any?
Just that your Christmas gifts should have arrived in the
Yeah,
mail.
thank you.
And
Thank
if
you.
you have any
Oh,
questions
what?
or if you didn't receive your tax bill, let us know.
And let's see, we're working on the newsletter now, that should come out sometime in January. And let's see, we only have a few food bags left, only a few. So, you know, if you haven't gotten one out there in TV land, pick it up right away because they're going to be gone. So, and I don't think I can think of anything else. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for putting the honey in there.
I didn't put the honey in there. Thank the little workers that put the honey in.
For the little bees that help
I'm
produce
just
the
a
honey.
distributor,
I had some of that this morning.
Did you? Dave, do you have any comments?
No. Just thanks for coming out.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Move to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn?